the whole thing is I thirst for the souls of those on earth who are, destitute, who are, without me.
Do we have that?
Yeah.
Because we are not in full communion with God anymore because we're not in the garden.
How sometimes we get too sucked in our prayer life to the point that's like, okay, that's all we want to do. We want to pray, we want to go home, we want to eat, we want to go to bed.
Hello and welcome back to episode number 65 of the Lost Sheep podcast. I am Evan Aber, here joined with
Cole Bissett
and
Nazario Pangallo.
And we are super excited to be back together. We did a little shell game shuffle. I feel like we recorded the last 2 weeks here and we've been in the same seats. So I sat down in this one and I turned to Nazario. I was like, this chair is much comfier than that one. So Cole's going to have to be in the uncomfortable chair for this episode. But 1 week into school, it is, we're filming this on a Wednesday. So we're officially a week into school. We've been through everything. So Cole, start us off. How is the workload? How is the first week? Thoughts, comments, concerns, questions?
It's actually really interesting. Was I telling you this morning? I feel like I have not had a lot of homework. And I went through my classes and went to my professors on Blackboard and was pretty confused because there's nothing uploaded on any of them still. I have just completed my first homework assignment of the semester today. It was 4 questions, and then I went and looked and I finally got another one posted from another professor, 4 questions. One of my other professors isn't even doing homework. My sociology class is easy, so it's just weird. I kind of don't know what to do with myself because I feel like that's the way I learn. So
yeah. I turned to one of the guys in my MBA group today and I was like, we were talking about FSU on Saturday, and I was like, it feels weird. If everything feels too early this year. It feels like we just started school yesterday. It feels like we have football tomorrow. Everything feels super condensed right now. But I'm in the same boat. Obviously I came from a different, I'm starting a completely new coursework, but I feel like I have no homework. I feel like I have nothing to do. I go home and I'm like, time to twiddle my thumbs. I downloaded Pokemon. You know how you can convert
Is it Pokemon Go?
No. You can convert your TI-84 calculator into you can download the Game Boy
shoot.
stuff.
I do know this.
So I downloaded Pokemon Red onto my TI-84. So I'm super excited to keep playing that. So
the lack of homework assignments may be unfamiliar territory for some of us, but for the curly man over in the corner, he is kind of used to this. So how's your
first week?
Yeah, how's it going, buddy?
Well, yesterday I had my first extra long day. So we started at 8 a.m. and we ended at 8:30 p.m. It was pretty fun, 6 classes. Got to end, one of them was watching a movie, but it was for class purposes. So, but it's pretty good. I think next week is when my most difficult class of the semester, which is the psychology of the learning, is going to turn up and start really going at it. I know we're going to do a couple quizzes a week, and then we only have 2 big assignments, so it's still not really homework, more just preparing for the weekly quizzes and exams, but still definitely, Cole, more than I've had before. So it's going to be interesting, but I'm excited because both of them seem like interesting classes. I know Evan was telling me with he's now doing business administration, correct, is what the master's program is. It's different. He was in biology, science, and if you know Evan, he loves science. He really does. I think I'm saying that correctly. He's really interested in it.
You think you're saying science correctly?
No, I'm saying that you enjoy science.
That I'm interested
that is
in
correct,
it.
right?
Yeah.
And so, yes, he definitely had, his hard classes and everything like that, but he was interested in learning about it, and he likes to talk about it. You can see when he talks about it, he's learned a lot. And for me, now, I'm actually in some interesting psychology classes, psychology of aging and psychology of learning. And when I go there, I'm genuinely excited when they're talking because I'm this stuff is interesting. I'm excited to learn about it. So that part is fun. Now, when it turns up and I have a couple things due in the same week, I don't know. But I actually think I'll have stuff to do this week, Cole, or this year, Cole. So I don't know if you'll be as upset with me for having nothing to do.
Yeah, I was It is funny because I did put all my tests and stuff in, and the one thing I don't miss from STEM is having all the assignments and whatnot. But I look, there's like 2 weeks where it's like the first week of October, I have like every single one of my classes has a test. Every single one of my classes has like 1 or 2 homeworks due, and I'm like, dang. And then the week of my birthday, because my birthday falls the week before Thanksgiving this year. It's usually either Thanksgiving or the week before. So my birthday is like the Thursday before Thanksgiving. There's a million things due that week, but teachers always do that, especially this year where we come back and we have dead week and then exams. Everything is due. But
So, we got to enjoy this, fellas.
yeah,
We got to enjoy this
Oh, yeah.
part of the semester. I know we've played a couple of disc golf rounds, and this weekend is Labor Day weekend, so we have an extra weekend, start of football, and we get to go camping. Cole and I will be going camping. That's why we were recording this on a Wednesday, unusual day for us. Usually we record on Fridays, but we're going to jump right on into the quote.
yeah.
You look
Yeah.
confused.
No, are y'all leaving Friday morning?
We're leaving Thursday
Evening.
Thursday evening.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we're leaving
Yeah.
Thursday evening.
All right. Well, yeah, with all that said, let's go to the quote.
Ladies and gentlemen, the quote of the week.
I think each time I hear that little segment intro, it gets funnier and funnier to me. I remember when I was creating this, and fun fact for you listeners out there, that's actually my voice. I know it doesn't sound like it, but there's a lot of augmentation on that. But that is me saying, ladies and gentlemen, the quote of the week. And I just messed with it a little bit, trying to make it sound like a Monster Jam.
A Monster Jam?
Yeah, like the Monster Jam people, like the. Is that
Oh,
what it's called?
like the monster trucks.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's called
okay,
Monster
okay,
Jam,
okay.
right?
It is
Yeah,
called
yeah,
Monster
yeah,
Jam,
that's
yeah.
right.
About
That's
that?
right.
Okay.
No, I was having a brain fluff moment. But
I was going to say, for the first time in a couple weeks, there's a quote brought to the podcast, not by me. And so I'm going to let Nazario Pangallo, the person that brought it, intro it. So go for it.
It is very hard when he says stuff like that to not go back and refute
to take him seriously. Yeah.
So we're going to get into our quote for this week here on episode number 65. I sent one earlier in the week, and the response, wasn't super positive. So I decided to find a different one. And this one, still not Cole's favorite. So we're going to see what happens here in this episode. It is from the one and only Mother Teresa. Her birthday was 2 days ago. That's where this quote, why it was published and why I saw it. Here is the quote. "The hunger for love is much more difficult to remove than the hunger for bread." I'll read it one more time. "The hunger for love is much more difficult to remove than the hunger for bread." And that is for Mother Teresa. And I didn't really know where I was going to go with this, but it's interesting. My first initial thoughts now, her hunger for bread part, because we know that so much of her life was spent with the poor and trying to serve those types of communities. And she lived a very impoverished life. Is that impoverished? A life in poverty is.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to see how she talks about that, because if anyone knows the true experience of hunger for bread and that deep hunger, the true hunger for food that we honestly don't actually know a lot about because our stomachs are full plenty, but that true hunger for bread. And she still says this. She still says the hunger for love is much more difficult to remove than the hunger for bread. So just an interesting little thing to begin with, that she knows and she's seen what the true hunger for bread, what it's like, what it does to people. I mean, that's your survival on the line if you're truly hungering. But more importantly is that hunger for love. So just my initial thoughts right there.
Yeah. Mother Teresa's famous. She had this vision, she's famous for a lot of stuff, let's be clear, but she had this vision or this kind of message from God that said, I thirst for souls, right? I thirst. And that's where that I thirst image that we see everywhere comes from. But the whole thing is I thirst for the souls of those on earth who are, destitute, who are, without me. And so I think, my first thoughts on this were it kind of went to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
The what now?
Oh man, this guy's a psychologist. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Do you know what that is?
No, you should explain.
Okay. So the basic premise is that, certain needs have to be met before other needs can start to be met, right? So basic needs like food, water, shelter have to be met before you can have emotional needs met, like love and fulfillment and all that stuff. And then there's like the top of the pyramid is like self-actualization or something, which is like, self of the knowing of self or whatever, like knowing who you are. The top gets murky. But the first thing that I kind of thought about was it's easy to remove the hunger for bread. But it is one of those things that is essential to be removed before we can start to remove the hunger for love, right? For all this other stuff. Because, we kind of talk about from our cushy lives, like it's really hard to imagine some of the decisions that these people have to make, right? Some of these decisions they have to make just to live. And the fact of the matter is that, like, it's really hard to make a decision between like, do I want to go out and save other people or do I want to eat today? It's really hard to say, I would love to save other people, right? And so it's just, it's one of those things where we think about like charity, we think about love, we think about go out and serving other people, and a lot of it is material, right? Feed, the corporal works of mercy, which are great. But there is that, that emotional need for love, for belonging, for good that people also feel that needs to be fulfilled after those physical needs are met. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I'm kind of maybe taking it in a different sense than you guys, because you guys are like,
I'm shocked.
It's not
I'm
like
completely
honestly,
shocked.
I'm
yeah.
not going. It's not like a 180 or anything. I just think like both
Should
of
have a
y'all
counter.
are like
How many times Cole says that?
What?
Continue.
Just I guess how many times? Wait, what was I even saying? No, I'm just saying what you're saying.
You're not doing a complete 180.
I'm not doing a complete 180 because y'all are kind of comparing both of them in a sense where I kind of think they're two completely different things in this sense. By hunger for bread, she's kind of talking about like this earthly hunger for stuff. Like, okay, I have a hunger to go home and play FIFA with Nazario and beat him. Like, and I lost this morning, so that's very ironic that I said that. Just figured I'd let you have that one. But it's like that hunger is what I see when I read that part of that quote. And that is an easier hunger to satisfy, right? Like, I want to eat food. I go home. I eat food. And Nazario can attest to that. That's what I do whenever I'm hungry. I eat food. I snack. I munch. And in that moment, I am satisfying that hunger. Now, what does that have to do with love? Okay, why is she comparing the two of these? The difference between that is with this love, you can pursue it through many different things. One of the things we talked about through discipleship and Bible study is that we're created for a relationship. And what does that mean? So in Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, God said, it's not good for man to be alone. So this is our earthly relationship, our relationship with a woman, right? And then we are given as a follow-up our relationship with Christ. And how do we do that? We pursue a relationship with a woman and follow that and lead that into Christ. And so,
or other vocations.
Yeah, or
right?
other vocations. Yeah. This is just through a general sense is what I'm talking about. And so I kind of want to go a little bit deeper on this idea of desire and what that means in satisfaction. And so I want to ask the two of y'all, this is my favorite part, and I'll get to go into definitions at some point. So I'm so excited because I feel like I haven't done that in a minute.
Are you uncomfortable at the moment? Why are you sitting like that?
I don't know, bro.
I'm telling you, it's the chair.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. He literally was
It's
like,
weird. I can't like
Remove
lay
the
he was
down.
pillow.
lifted on
Is the
his
pillow what it is?
toes,
The
and I
pillow,
was
is it?
just very confused.
It's
No, that
no,
messes it
the,
up. I like
the chair is completely uncomfortable. If you go back and look at the videos, it probably looks like I'm doing something like what Cole is doing.
Well, it feels like I'm sitting on cardboard with like leather on top.
Yeah.
It's not
Anyway.
comfortable.
Anyway, your question.
What does it?
Continue. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah,
I was
no.
gonna say this is for the two of y'all, and I don't necessarily have a good answer for it. I kind of just want to hear what y'all's perspective is. What does it mean to want something, and what is that want, and why do we have it?
One more time.
Okay. What does it mean to want something, and what is what's the definition of want? Like, why do we have that? Why do we have this?
Are you trying to get us just to say that want is the desire for something?
Sure. I'm not trying to. Again, I'm not trying to get y'all to say anything. I just want. I am brainstorming this idea of desire.
Okay, I think want is just desiring something. Like
Okay.
If I want you can want a abstract thing, you can want a physical thing. It's just that, like, yeah, I have a desire for whatever that thing is, right? Whether it's love or food or relationship or a
Okay.
chair, right?
And then my next question as a follow-up is, why do we have that desire?
Did you have a different?
No, I agree with you.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's the desire for something. Why do we have that?
Yeah.
Because we are not in full communion with God anymore, because we're not in the garden. I guess they still probably had once in the garden,
Yeah.
but it's even more exaggerated in a fallen world. We want so many more things because our desire, our true desire, which should be fully and only for God, has been warped in so many different ways. So now we have it trying to take us in so many different ways. And did I answer your question? Could you say it again?
No,
Did I answer?
Yeah. What
Okay.
What does it mean to want something? Desire, like, what is the definition of want? Why do we want things? And then I guess the reason I'm doing this, and it's not like I'm not trying to trick you guys. I'm not trying to trick the audience. This is just like a pretty general, just blanket question. Like, as humans, we have this desire, we have this longing. And I remember in a previous episode, Evan and I had talked about this, and it's another theme from Italy that I got from Mr. Bill Donaghy in the Theology of the Body Institute, was this word called Sehnsucht. And I don't know if you remember me bringing this up.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring this up again is because Sehnsucht is this wistful longing for something one cannot explain or does not know. And I remember when Bill was explaining this to us, he was talking it through the idea of art, beauty, wonder, and all of these things, how we have this longing, like in certain songs, there's a note or a chord that's played and it just strikes you. And it's kind of like this longing to a sense that it hurts. And I truly believe that's what our hunger for love is. It's this aching pain in us that we are trying to fill through prayer and through the sacraments and through going to mass and all of these other things. And that's why it's so difficult, right? Because that ache is kind of hard to never be able to satisfy. That is kind of discouraging to us, right? Other than in heaven. And so that's what makes the faith kind of difficult, is because you have to kind of have to be okay with not being 100% satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess that's why I'm trying to just wander through this, is I want to really break down this idea of satisfaction. Like, how do we navigate this, the idea that we can't be satisfied right now? Like, the ultimate satisfaction is complete union with God in heaven. As St. Augustine says, our hearts are restless until they rest in you. And so how, as Catholics, how, as Christians, do we navigate our faith knowing that we can't be fully satisfied on earth?
Yeah, and
That's my next question.
I think of the story of Jesus at the well with the Samaritan woman comes to mind, and that you can try to drink all this water from all these different wells, but Jesus is still always going to be there offering you the one true drink. And although you're never going to feel fully satisfied, I guess there's like points in your life where it may be more difficult than others, but still at the end of the day, on earth, like it's still in this fallen world, God still gives you a drink, this overflowing of water that is still so much better than the rest. And that's why I think Mother Teresa is really highlighting this in the quote, is because once that Samaritan woman, actually, I know for sure, once this Samaritan woman had this drink of the water from Jesus, what did she do? Like, she was so overflowing with it, she went and told the whole entire city, the whole entire town that had known her as this woman who tried to drink from many different wells, including many different men, specifically in her life. But then that was all turned around. And so that woman, once that happened, that hunger, you could say that hunger for love was, of course, always there, and she was trying to feel it in so many different ways that it was more than her hunger for bread the whole time. And then once she finally received the true love that she was waiting for and hoping for, it just continued to burst out of her, and it was just, she had to keep returning to that same well. She knew this is the only well that I could come from, or that I could receive what I truly want from. And that, I don't disagree with you, because I know, like, we're never going to get true satisfaction. Yeah. But I think I may just, I don't know, maybe it's just my experience that I don't feel that dissatisfaction maybe as much Or maybe I'm
so
downplaying it a
I
little
want to
bit.
go back to, because initially when you said, like, we have desire because we're not in the garden anymore, I was like, well, that's an interesting take. I've never really thought about it like that, but it's absolutely true. I mean, the first interaction we get, like the first talking from Adam and Eve, or when they're conversing with Satan, with the snake, and this is a very interesting word. This is Genesis chapter 3, verse 6. It says, the woman saw that the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eyes, and the tree was desirable for gaining wisdom, right? So there's that first want, right? I haven't wanted anything. I've been content with walking in the garden, with being with Christ. And then that first want enters. And again, we talk about it being a perversion, a twisting of our want, right? Their want for food is twisted by Satan into this want for something else, which was knowledge, right? He told them, you make a choice against God, you can have all the knowledge in the world. Unbeknownst to them, that's what they were doing. To your point, I think it's a lot of perspective, right? I think on being dissatisfied with life, I think it's very interesting. I have a quote on my computer actually, that I've had there for a while, and the quote says, oh my gosh, I forget who it's by. Maybe it's Aristotle. Or no, it's not. I'm sorry. It's a 1800s philosopher. And the quote is, I would much rather be Socrates dissatisfied than a fool satisfied. And I think about that often because exactly like you said, like, sometimes you do feel like you should be more dissatisfied with your life because you meet people every day that are super dissatisfied with their lives. And so it kind of gives you this impression that you should be, right? And I think in reality, it kind of goes like this, of like, the people over here are really dissatisfied. They're at low points, right? And the people up here, right, in the middle, are very satisfied. And it's not really like an intelligence thing. It's not really a knowing thing. But like, if you think too much or too little of the world, then like you're going to be dissatisfied, right? Right. And thinking too little of the world, some of our greatest saints are over there, right? We talk about Mother Teresa. We talk about like saints who spent all of their time in this mysticism. Great, fantastic saints, but were completely dissatisfied with life because that they knew that, like heaven was so much better, right? And that's fine. That's great. That is a 0.0001% of people. That's fine. Now, the other end of the scale is not fine, right? The being so completely obsessed with the world that you're dissatisfied with anything because it's all a big rat race and I can never get enough money or enough things or enough people or enough whatever, right? But right there in the middle, I feel like it's okay, right? Because you have that understanding that I'm not satisfied with the world because I know that there's something better and something greater waiting for me. But I can also be satisfied knowing that like the actions I take here are impacting further down the line, are impacting my entry into heaven, are impacting others' entry to heaven. And I think that's where you begin to see that spectrum of, okay, like, am I satisfied, right? Do I know that there's heaven? Do I know that there's a second goal, right? Does that provide some satisfaction to me? If there's heaven, right, I'm a little more dissatisfied with being on earth because I'm not in heaven. But I also know that being here on earth, I can help others to heaven. And so that gives me more satisfaction with my life. Now, it's not satisfying that desire for want, that want for love, that desire for love that we talked about earlier. But that's kind of what I think about that satisfaction towards life. I think if you start to think about it too much, if you start to think about, oh man, the world sucks, either in the because heaven is not here or because the rat race, right? Then you get so caught up in those two things. Again, this one is crazy good, right? A lot of people don't think like that, but you get so caught up in those two things that you miss towing other people to heaven oftentimes.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
I really like just the balance aspect, and it's why keeping prayer and the sacraments like a routine, not a routine, but like a consistent just consistently doing those things is so important, because there's many times in my life where, you stray away from it and you get so invested in the world or whatever's going on, and then you're like, you get dissatisfied, like, this is just for nothing, right? This is not filling up what I thought it was going to. This is when, Cole, as you talked about, that dissatisfaction really comes in. But then, as you talked about, if you get so into just doing that, well, you're not enjoying the world. I remember JP Solahub said, I think freshman year I don't know if it was talk or just at the search retreat, that he was talking to a priest. I'm not sure if it was the spiritual director or not, but just talking about how he would spend, I think it was like an hour and a half to 2.5 hours in like
contemplative prayer a day.
Contemplative prayer, like legit prayer. And the priest was like,
you need to do that less.
Yeah. Like you're a student, and just like, that's not, I don't know what the right word
that's
is
not
or how to word it,
feasible.
but yeah. And so that's what I'm reminded of, is like contemplative prayer, good, right? But like going and being out in community, going and doing stuff with your friends, also good. And so just that balance. And then Evan, I thought about as well your talk. I don't know if your talk, but like you've brought up the point of the right order for things. And so I think that's really, really important for that, because at the end of the day, like if you still hunger for bread, you still need to go eat something at some point. And if you hunger for love, like still you need to go search and find God and receive that love as well.
You get it.
I think the other thing that we're kind of missing out on is this juncture of both, right? So incarnational discipleship, right? When we talk about that. So like you're bringing up that JP story. Yeah. It was one of those things where like, his spiritual director was like, hey, that's actually too much prayer. Like you're missing things because you're praying so much. And so he can talk more about that, but he would be a good person to have on, actually. Pardon the interruption. ESPN, don't sue us for me saying that. Also, don't sue me for saying that.
I'll help you.
I got you.
Okay.
Yeah. But we live our lives, like I was saying, we're called to live our lives in community. So like doing those faith things, towing other people to heaven, getting lunch with people, playing sports with people, and like
playing euchre with people.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, let's open this in a prayer. Let's close this in a prayer, right? Or like, I think the biggest thing is whenever I'm out with people, reminding them not to curse. Like I'll be with a certain buddy of mine, and I know him. I won't shout his name out, but I know who y'all know this is. And he'll be cursing. I'm like, hey man, like quit it. Like cut it out. Like stop doing that. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. Right. And just like that little thing of like calling each other higher, calling each other better while fulfilling those, base needs, is oftentimes more helpful than, prayer is great, but is oftentimes more helpful for that person's soul than going and spending, 5 minutes praying for them. Now you can also spend 5 minutes praying for them. I would massively encourage that, but walking in faith, walking in communion, walking in love with them, the fruits of that are also tremendous, right?
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, we're talking about this aching desire for love, and how we kind of can get that through things like prayer and relationships. And something that I want to point out in this about this whole thing about like our longing for a relationship is Jesus is like he's got the ultimate like boys group of all time. If you think about it, it's him and the apostles, and they're traveling all across the world. Well, the area that they were in, all across everywhere, proclaiming the good news, proclaiming like the gospel to people, and that's what they do. And as described to us in Scripture, we hear Jesus is a very joyful person, and he goes to weddings, he enjoys himself, he has some fun, but he's also living a life that is a model to other people, and his apostles are doing that as well. And it's so cool because we're talking about this balance between prayer and relationship and incarnational evangelization. Yeah. Incarnational evangelization, and how sometimes we get too sucked in our prayer life to the point that's like, okay, that's all we want to do. We want to pray, we want to go home, we want to eat, we want to go to bed, right? There is so much more to the world in that. And if we really truly want to get and fulfill that hunger for love in a sense where we can at least taste it, like like Mother Teresa says, it's very difficult to remove that. It's quite frankly, it's almost impossible to truly fully remove that hunger for love. Again, coming back to the fact that we can never fully be satisfied, but we can definitely taste it. And Zachary Elrod, if you are listening, you're really going to enjoy that I'm quoting this again. But Jesus is sitting there each time we are trying to find that taste for love. And to quote Nacho Libre, "Don't you want a little taste of the glory?" And it's true. Like that is what Jesus is saying each time when we meet new people. It's like, don't you want a taste of the glory? And he gives us that especially through the Eucharist most of all. Is when we truly consume the full body, blood, human, and divinity of Jesus Christ in the Eucharist, we are tasting some of his glory, and it truly helps us be more open to fulfilling that desire for love.
Yeah, and I really do think it speaks to the walking in the footsteps of, Christ, but also it speaks to the humanity of Christ, and of God's plan for us when we look at like the Eucharist is something that we consume.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Eucharist is literally something that is essential for us in both the physical and the divine aspects, the physical and the spiritual, that's a better word,
Yeah.
aspects of our life, right? So like it is both literal food for the journey and spiritual food for the journey.
Yeah.
And so, that's something I think about often. And yeah, Jesus did have the ultimate men's group. I that was actually one of those things that, you kind of like think about randomly. I saw a clip from The Chosen, and it's the scene where they're walking through the field and not Matthew. One of the guys picks up like a sheath of wheat or something, and he starts eating it. And all the other 11 disciples and all of the women that are following them stop. And Jesus keeps walking, and he turns around, and Matthew's like, harvesting or collecting on the Sabbath. And Jesus is like, have at it, because they're hungry. You have to attend to your physical body first. But I mean, Christ's number one thing, like, come sit and eat with me, come share a meal with me, or even like his first miracle, right, is water and a wine. Come share a meal with me. Have a celebration with me. Sit down and enjoy what I've created and enjoy fulfilling that natural desire that I've given to you. But I always think the Eucharist is super cool because it both
is that combination.
Yeah, it's that creation of like value for. That was very business coded. It's that creation of value for the physical body and the creation of value for the spiritual body. That's super cool.
I was just going to say, isn't it so funny just to think that Jesus, like, and the apostles probably just messed with each other just as much as, like, all the other guys do, like, and to just think about the fact, like, if you could be a fly on the wall when Jesus is sharing a meal with the apostles at any point in their journey and their evangelization. Like, I want to know what it sounds like to be an apostle with Jesus and just see Jesus sitting there talking to you, like just casually, and then he just starts messing with you and just.
What's your fly on the wall, like, Bible story? Like, what's the gospel story that you would be like, I wish I was there for? And we're gonna exempt the obvious ones like the Last Supper and the crucifixion and the resurrection and ascension, like the big ones that I think it would be really hard to choose between. Let's go like more obscure stuff, right?
I don't know how obscure it is, but mine would be when Jesus tells, I think it was just a crowd, I could be wrong, but that you have to eat his body and drink his blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then some of his disciples leave, and then Peter says, Lord, where would we go? You have the words of eternal life. So I think that one would be for the one that I would go with.
Oh man, see, I feel like mine is kind of generic, but I think it's just the coolest thing in the world to me that this is even possible. I think I would want to sit in and be on the ark and watching all of the animals walk on the Noah's Ark. I don't know. I just feel like
you wouldn't pick a moment from
hold on.
Jesus' life.
Yes, that is great, but I'm specifically asking about gospel.
Okay. Then I would want to see when Jesus heals. forget his name. This is a terrible blank. The guy that they lower down from the roof. What's his name?
It's not named. It's
The guy right there in that picture behind you.
paraplegic.
Yeah,
Jesus heals the paraplegic.
When he does. Oh no, Lazarus. I want to be there for that, without a doubt. That just sounds incredible.
I would rather be there for Bartimaeus than Lazarus.
Which
Really?
one's that?
The blind guy.
Really.
That,
I mean, that's a pretty incredible
that's
moment.
not my fly on the wall, but I would in order of healings, it goes the blind guy, because they have the whole story where like there's only a few. I'll have you notice there's only a few times in the gospel where they go away from Jesus.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's one time in the gospel where they follow this random dude that he's just healed, and they're like, and then this guy's friends or this like the people in the street brought this guy to the Pharisees. And the Pharisees were like, "Who healed you?" And he's like, "Jesus." And the Pharisees are like, "Say psych right now." And he's like, "No, like on everything I know and love, Jesus of Bethlehem healed me." And they have that whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's like Jesus is not there, the disciples are not there. Like it's like this complete different like perspective. That's super cool to me. So you're John 6.
Correct.
If anybody's interested, John 6 verse, it's the bread of life discourse. John 6 is a great chapter to read for anybody that's interested in learning more about, as Catholics, why we believe in the Eucharist, but especially the Eucharist as the true source and summit of our faith. But that's specifically from John 6, verse 51. It says, "I am the living bread that came down from heaven. Whoever eats this bread will live forever. And the bread that I will give is my flesh for the life of the world." Verse 52, "The Jews quarreled among themselves, saying, 'How can this man give us his flesh to eat?'" And in verse 53, which is the most famous one, it's Jesus doubling down. Jesus said to them, "Amen, amen, I say to you, unless you eat of the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you shall not have life within you." And that is the most famous line because it actually uses the Greek term gnaw. I think it's Greek or the original Hebrew word for gnaw, like to gnash between your teeth. And so it's like, not only does Jesus want us to eat his flesh, but like really eat it. Okay, my fly on the wall would be, that was a long thing. My fly on the wall, I had so much time to think about it too. Either Nicodemus at night, Nick at night, Nicodemus at night when he asks Jesus on the roofs, what is the greatest commandment, right? Or oh man, so and so tonight I'll dine in your house. The short guy that climbs up into the tree.
Oh no.
What's his name?
The tax collector? Is he talking about the tax collector?
There, you're talking about a tax collector?
The guy that was in the
right?
tree that he said he would. Is it Zechariah?
Yes.
There you go.
Yes. Or Zacchaeus or Zechariah? Zacchaeus.
Oh, but
Zacchaeus.
is his name changed to Zechariah?
I don't know. Zacchaeus the tax collector.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house because this man too is a son of Abraham, for the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost." Yeah, so yeah, it would have to be one of those, seeing him in the tree. But yeah. Okay, well, with that all put forth, let's transition to our practical prayer practice.
Ladies and gentlemen, the practical prayer practice of the week.
Cole, now that you told us about
Yeah, I
the
can't
quote of the
not
week,
hear
is that your
voice.
voice as well for all of
they're
these?
all three
They're
are
all
my
his
voice.
voice.
I
Okay.
just changed like how they sounded on each of them just for fun.
So I think we're kind of at that point of the semester where we were focusing on school a little bit more, and so we had a little bit of a challenge coming up with practical prayer practices this week. We promised to be more inventive next week, but with all the value that is in our hearts, we say walk to class. Walk to class. And I say this, I think y'all kind of laughed at me.
I was very confused.
Yeah.
I
You're
didn't know what
going
you
with.
meant
So,
when you said it. to be honest.
So I've been parking here at St. Francis, and I've been walking across the quad every morning. My first class on Monday and Wednesdays is at 8, so it's a nice 7:40 walk across the quad. And a couple things I've noticed are that I don't put in headphones. I'm just walking. And that's the time I get to pray in the morning, right? Because like, look, I am a morning person. I don't like waking up. There's a mosquito about to land on you right there.
I got it.
I don't like waking up early and like the first thing I'm doing like is like an activity. Like I have to wake up. And so praying for me first thing in the morning, like long morning prayer or something, is challenging, right? So I'll get out of bed. I'll say like, Lord, thank you for allowing me to wake up this morning. Thank you for this day. And then I'll go about my day, right? Breakfast and coffee and stuff like that. And so the time I have to pray is that. And so like just being present in that moment, like being present with the nature, being present with the sun, and just like sitting with that, walking, it's been cool. Just like being present and being real, not having your phone or having, music or anything like that. Just sitting in that creation has been really helpful. But also, I mean, we're called to be stewards of everything that God has given us, right? And part of that is stewards of our body. And so if you're a person that doesn't work out, doesn't get out of the house, doesn't, is not active, walking to class is a great way of being a steward of your body. I don't think as Christians, as Catholics, we think about that a lot, but we are called to be stewards of our body. And that involves taking good care of ourselves. So eating right, walking to class, especially as we begin this semester, because I know it can get hard to eat right, to exercise and all that. But walking to class is a way that you can stay active, keeps the blood flowing, keeps your legs moving, right? And just gets you a little bit of activity for the day. The other thing is, if you're really against walking in silence, find a buddy, right? Have a conversation with a buddy. Or if you're really against all those things, you hate people, you hate walking in silence, I need to have my headphones. Okay, cool. Put in a rosary or put in the Chaplet of Divine Mercy or put in something, but start your day with either silence or some prayer or some like something that's fulfilling that desire for love. Like start your day off with that. And so the reason I say walk to class is start your day off with a walk where you're allowed to use that time as a fulfillment of that desire for love. Yeah. Does that make more sense now why I put the PvP? Okay.
I
Cool.
get it. And I guess I don't really have any morning classes this semester, really. Like my earliest class is 11. I hate it, by the way. It's the worst schedule I've ever had.
You still have to walk to class though.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I was gonna relate it
Yeah.
kind of in a sense where it's not necessarily walking to class, but like Nazaria and I work out and we walk to the gym, which is like a 5-10 minute walk. No, at the cottages we have a gym. there.
Oh.
And just like you, I'm kind of a slow waker upper, like in a sense where I don't really want to like do much in the morning. And so Nazario,
I've
like
woken
every
this guy up 5 times at search and he thinks I don't know that.
well, I texted every morning whenever, because since we work out together, I'll text Nazario and be like, or he'll text me first and he'll be like, you up? And it's the most dreaded text I get every single morning because I have to respond yes.
That makes me sad.
No. I'm happy it's you, but it's the dreaded
Absolutely
text because
distraught.
it means I have to get out of bed. And every single time I'm said, do you want to go? And most of the time I'm hoping for a no. It never is. But Nazario,
I don't think I've ever said no.
no,
Actually.
he's never said no. But Nazario this morning said, heck flipping yeah, let's go. And I was like, all right. And I'm dead. I feel awful this morning. I just woke up really congested. And so I woke up, walked downstairs, and I brought my headphones with me, but something that I found, and I don't ever really put my headphones in on a walk to the gym, is kind of, I'd enjoy just either sitting there talking to Nazario or kind of just sitting there on my walk to the gym. And so that nice, I mean, it's maybe 10 minutes, but that walk to the gym is just, I don't know, it's peaceful. And so I enjoy that a lot. We used to drive, and it was like right down the road. And so now we were just like, nah, we'd rather take the
Well,
time to
actually,
walk.
we drove because it was cold.
That too.
So
That too.
recently I've been in the gym without headphones or anything, and I will say it's a cleansing experience.
I've done that once. It's weird.
It's interesting because you can like, I don't like hearing people talk.
Yeah.
I don't like people talking to me when I'm working out. So like hearing other people's conversations and stuff, I get distracted really easily. So I think I need to go back to headphones, but I don't like listening to music. Again, I get distracted. I think I just need the noise canceling.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear your conversation. I also don't want to listen to music.
I do that
I
sometimes.
just want to focus on the lifting.
I'm so different than you because I love I love eavesdropping on other people.
No.
Love
I
it.
will do that too,
Well,
where
look,
I'll turn on
look.
transparency mode just to hear what somebody's saying.
It's funny, but like where we are, I don't want to hear about what you did this weekend
Yeah,
and
it's
all
true.
of the degeneracy that you got up to because it makes me sad, honestly, right? And then I'm more involved with your life than I should be at the gym, right? That's a terrible thing to say because we should, want desire for our brothers and sisters to grow in faith, but I don't want to hear about that. I really just want to work out at that time. So,
Do you enjoy people talking to you while you're working out?
Depends.
if it's cold, no.
The reason I ask is because I talk to him like the entire time we're working out.
Yeah.
Every morning.
I would crash out in
you
the
would hate
gym.
working out.
It's,
with
it's
me.
in the morning, like
Yeah.
right when first thing we wake up, and he just
No.
starts yapping.
I just stopped talking after a while. Like if I get a gym partner, because for soccer and high school and stuff,
Yeah.
we were assigned gym partners and things like that. And if I ever got a gym partner that was talkative, I would just stop talking to him. Like 15 minutes to the workout, I'd just like he'd be talking to me, I just wouldn't respond. I just
Some
Well-
mornings you're really mute.
Usually, when someone talks to you and you don't respond to them, eventually they stop talking. That is just not cool.
yeah, no.
He
Shocker.
will just
I
keep
imagine that
on
happens.
going
Yeah,
and going
yeah.
and going. He will know that I am not listening to him and still be talking.
I
And
just want to
have
voice
no
my thoughts
idea
out
how.
loud, and sometimes it helps me. Even if he's not listening, it feels
Hey,
like I'm having
he's
a
an
conversation.
external processor.
I am. I'm
It's
very
bad
much an
how much of
external
it.
processor.
It's bad. He has realized now how insane it is.
Oh, it's
how
pretty
much of an
nuts.
external processor he
no.
is.
Hey, look, I get the external process, and that's a conversation I had with my dad, right? Because you have to, part of like conflict resolution with just having a significant other is understanding how each. I'm sure you can speak to this. I'm sure you can speak to this, although less expertly. Shout out, didn't mean to knock you on there, but
I was waiting for it.
no, but I mean, it is really knowing like how we process. So like Caroline is a super internal processor. So like I have to ask her, and actually at orientation, at MBA orientation, and we're so tangential. We'll go into the Shepherd of the Week after this, but at MBA orientation, one of the guys was like, if you have a person in your group who's an internal processor, like ask them, what did you just say to yourself in your head?
That's a good question.
It's a great question. So
I
like,
never have to ask Cole that.
now I'll ask Caroline, like I'll ask her like, hey, what did you just say? Like, what did you just say in your head? Because you're processing internally, like you're thinking, but you're not telling me anything. But like with extroverts, he was like, you just have to wait. Like eventually you're going to hear their point, and then like that's where they want you to respond, right? And there is going to be a pause. There's going to be like a break.
I'm not sure there's much of a pause in
There-
Cole.
there's gonna be a break, and then that's when you need to say like, hey, da 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 da.
There, I like leave clues.
Okay.
Maybe not purposely, but there are like I have segments. Is the way I
Yeah, he
like
does
to
have
break it up.
segments.
And
He
there's already-
breaks
It
his
is-
conversation.
People, it's
got-
hard to
podcasts.
know when I'm supposed to respond because
But
he'll
you've gotten
stop
pretty-
and I'll be like,
You're pretty good at it though, to the point where you like when I'm talking, like you respond most of the time when I want you to respond. There's like a couple times where I'm like thoughts, and he'll be like, huh, and then I'll get it. But yeah, there's certain times. See, you're kind of a mix of both. You're very extroverted when you're frustrated, but then when you're like just kind of casual and you're just going throughout your day, he won't speak to anybody. He is an internal process.
Yeah, that's
And-
actually true. That
Like-
is true. Yeah.
Like if he's just sitting and saving, it's the funniest thing because he's like a recluse when it comes to like if I'm doing my work, don't you dare like mess with me. He's
Yeah.
like, I am silent, I don't talk to anybody, and so he's like, well, who's this person? I'm like, dude, you're like sitting next to them like every single day. How do you not know who it is? And it's just the difference. Like you are very introverted about that, but when you're frustrated about something, you want to be able to talk. Like if you're frustrated about like intramural sports or something's wrong, you're like, gosh, flipping dang it, somebody else signed up and now I got to do this, and then you voice that out loud, and that's kind of how you do yours.
Yeah. No, that is valid.
We gotta.
Without further
Yeah.
ado, our Shepherd of the Week.
How long are we, real quick? What's our time here?
long?
Woo! It's a long episode.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Shepherd of the Week.
See, I think that one's the funniest one to me for some reason. I think it's because of the music. The music on that one.
Yeah. The Shepherd of the Week. All right. So our Shepherd of the Week, and I had to text these two because I wanted to ask if it could be an abstract idea, and I should have worn my shirt. But there's two reasons I bring this up. So our Shepherd of the Week is Esto Vir retreat, which will be coming to UA in the next couple months. If you're not sure what Esto Vir is, that's okay. It is a young men's community-oriented retreat that my father started 2.5 years ago. There's been 2 editions back home. This will be the first edition away from my home parish in Kingwood. And the whole idea is to build a community of young men that are involved in the community of older men in a parish, right? So there's a lot of pre-confirmation formation and whatnot community. And then there's a lot of like older man formation and community and stuff like that, 35 pluses. But for that young population of, I've been confirmed, maybe I'm at college, maybe I'm a senior in high school, or maybe I'm back home, I'm starting a life, I'm 23, 22, something like that, right? There's not much community. So we're seeking to hit that space and really connect that community, that young community, with the man community at parishes. And so I'm super excited because it's coming to UA. My dad is coming down in just a few weeks to get all that kicked off and start the process with that. And so I'm super excited that we're getting that done here. But the second thing that brought it up is there's actually, and his name is Mason Elliott. He was on y'all's trivia team last night. Super cool kid. He's
Long black hair?
Yeah, he's a freshman here at UA. I saw a picture from the Square One retreat, and I was like, man, that kid looks like Mason. That looks like Mason. That really does. And I sent it to my family, and they're like, yeah, that's Mason. And so apparently he's a freshman at UA. But he is a Esto Vir alumnus. And so it is super cool because not only, I am also an alumnus. I've been to 2 of the retreats, but he's more so, right? It is super cool to not only be able to start having Esto Vir retreats at UA, but also have the potential of a little bit of carryover from other communities to this one. Because, I talked to him a little bit. I was like, look, dude, you're invited. You're so totally invited. That's kind of a code of the retreat that, like, you're the first people that get to help. If you've been on the retreat before, you're like core team for life. And that's kind of the design of the shirt I always wear, is the only people who ever get that shirt are people who have been on retreat team or have gone on the retreat. It's kind of like a symbol of boom. And so, it's a great opportunity. There will be, if you're here at UA, there will be, I'm sure, an interest meeting. I'm sure I'll make announcements at Mass. That's kind of like one of my priorities, is reaching out to people that like we may not everyday contact with. So I'm sure there will be mass announcements. But if you're interested in doing something like that, if you're an older person, like if you're Cole's dad or Cole's dad's age or something like that, right? A older man who wants to form community, or if you're a young man like us who wants to be a part of that community or wants to grow in your faith and know about life, I would urge you to reach out to me on Instagram or anything like that, or even reach out to the podcast through the comments and stuff. Yeah. We'll keep those monitored. But yeah, super excited, super hype. Y'all don't understand how excited I was. My dad called me 2 days ago and he was like, hey, got my flight confirmation. Like, I'm coming to Alabama to meet with, the people to get this thing going. And I was like, let's go. Like, it's real. Because up until that point, nothing's real, right? Mm-hmm. Up until that point where, like, you travel, you go to, like, start planning things, nothing's real. So super excited, super pumped. Y'all will obviously be, like, one of the few of the first people I call to see if, maybe y'all want to be on it or anything like that. Y'all want to come on the retreat. But with that said, super, super excited to be hosting this year at UA for the first time ever, away from Kingwood.
Yeah, and for those of y'all wondering, like, what Esto Vir means in Latin, it is be a man, literally is what it's referred to. Yeah. And it's interesting because I remember when you told us what the title of this retreat was called, and it's still bothering me because I have no idea, but it was the theme of one of the retreats I've been on in the past. And so that's how I know that it's be a man, and I'm excited. It seems like a very interesting opportunity. So maybe I'll be able to attend. So yeah. Well, with that being said, that kind of concludes the Shepherd of Our Week segment. We're pretty long into this episode. So do y'all want to just have final little closures you want
Do
to
you
do?
have final thoughts? I don't have any final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean,
I've
honestly,
said
we
my
kind of
piece.
voiced most of our stuff. Are we good?
I mean, my final thought would just be, to live the faith, to walk the faith, and that I was thinking about this when I was walking out of mass today. That we have to. I know this works for me. Like physically imagine putting on the image of Christ. Like it is actually something that you wear, that you are, and that you can impact people by more than just prayer. You can impact people by being an image of Christ to others. That can be by the way you go about when you lose a sports match, which I'm working on trying to be better about. It could be the way that you just walk around campus and are smiling at people and shaking hands or waving at people. You can impact people in many different ways, and just know that God has given you gifts. You can balance those gifts as well. It could be you spend plenty of time in prayer, plenty of time with your friends, plenty of time with your family. Make sure that you're giving the love that God has given you and sharing that with other people.
Yeah, other than that, please remember to like, subscribe, comment. We have shirts on our website. You can check it out on Instagram. We have an Instagram page. We have a YouTube page. We have a Spotify page, Apple Podcast page, Apple Music page. Like all of these. TikTok. We're on TikTok. So there's plenty of different opportunities for you to support us in that way. It always supports us when you buy our shirts. It's kind of like our biggest way of advertising currently is our t-shirts. So if you have the funds and the availability to do it, we highly encourage you and would love for you to help participate in that, participate in our journey. We have free bracelets. That's another way for us to advertise as well. I've had plenty of people come up and ask me what in the world this bracelet is, and tell them it's our podcast. That's what we do. And so if you want a bracelet, please feel free to ask us. We will give it to you for free. Giveaways will come at some point in the future. We'll have a mailbag episode at some point in the future. Got some guests coming up sooner. That'll be pretty exciting. So please stay attentive and aware. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of the Lost Sheep Podcast, and God bless.